We'll head to Russia next, where the government has confirmed a coronavirus case in President Vladimir Putin's administration. That news coming as authorities prepare to extend measures imposed in Moscow to limit the spread of the virus. Well, the third consecutive day, Russia's number of confirmed cases has increased, bringing the total number now to just over 1,000. 4 people have died from the coronavirus. Well, the Kremlin then saying it's taking measures to stop the virus spreading further. Well, let's get you some more on this. Anastasia Shapachinka is a lecturer in geopolitics at Sciences Po University. Thanks very much for speaking to us. Putin then, you'll be aware, declaring a paid non-working week with restaurants, cafes and shops closing. We're seeing a real change in the government's rhetoric when it comes to dealing with the coronavirus.
Yes, it's been a big change compared to the previous weeks when it was kind of taken so lightly outside of Moscow, where the controls have started already about 2 weeks ago. And then these measures of closing shops, cafes and parks in Moscow were taken faster and then in the rest of the country. And the mayor especially was credited with this. However, if you listen to the speech, to the address of the president to the nation, he wasn't as categorical, as we could say, and as insistent on the confinement measures as, for example, President Macron has been. More on a recommendational note, it was the confinement, and most of the speech was dedicated to the economic measures that the government was going to take to help support the population, the small businesses and big companies, and to help stop the outflow of money out of Russia. And there we're talking about big money and offshores. That, however, that has several kind of consequences. On the one hand, you see the government response tries to mimic the Western government's responses. However, it's by definition impossible. The president's speech exposed the minimum wage, reminded everybody the minimum wage of Russians in Russia, which is 12,000 rubles or about 100 euros a month, while the supermarket prices, especially in big cities, can rival the supermarket prices in Paris, so can compare with them. And that, of course, underlines the sad reality that about 12% of Russians are below the poverty line.
So you said a big emphasis then on the economy there coming from the president's speech a bit earlier. There have been questions raised about the healthcare system in Russia and whether it's likely to be overwhelmed by this pandemic if things and when things do increase. I mean, your thoughts on that?
Definitely. The health care system in Russia has been under great strain already. And of course, the inability of the state to finance adequately the healthcare system on the one hand, the system then turning for citizens for private financing, or you can call bribes or corruption, so to say, in healthcare system. And that, of course, privileges people who can pay and disprivileges those who cannot for their so-called free healthcare. And now missing even very basic supplies, especially when we're talking about provinces, about most of Russia, not about Moscow or St. Petersburg, but about most of it, and even public clinics in big cities. Even for a very basic health situation, you can soon find yourself in trouble. Faced with a major crisis like this, definitely the main equipment and especially more sophisticated equipment would be missing. And the government is putting forward its efforts to import now, especially the breathing equipment.
Just a final question with you, because we have, as Russia steps up measures to, stop the spread of the virus there, we have seen Russia in the meantime, helping other countries, particularly Italy, and not so long ago sending in equipment there. I mean, how's that being viewed in Russia?
Equipment and doctors, yes, of course, it's one of those moves when Russia is trying to play the same hand as China is playing right now geopolitically. Based on this crisis, basically there have been reflections about how the whole system of balance of powers in geopolitics is going to shift, because China is going to come up with victorious in this, and China has started distributing medical aid and doctors as well in different countries, and Russia was mimicking that behavior in the Italian case, only that China has been doing that already, having much greater coffers in general and much more money, and also having overcome the crisis, while Russia was doing that before the crisis struck. So, of course, the message that sends is that, well, everybody's aware of the state of the health system, which is already pitiable. And then you see that at the same time, there is this projection on TV. You have the picture on TV that communicates to you that even that system, the export is privileged. So, of course, the picture, the outside, the front, so to say, the facade is more important.
Okay.
Than what is
Anastasia
going on behind.
Shapachinka, we'd love to speak with you more. Unfortunately, we are out of time, though. You're a lecturer in geopolitics at Sciences Po. Thank you for your time today.